Okay, well, I thought I would do a video on the wiring for a Aerpro aftermarket fascia kit for the BF Falcons. Now, I've got a 10-inch floating screen in mine, but these fascias you can run any aftermarket stereo. I'm swapping this one out to test out a new stereo, so I thought I'd just get a quick video on the actual wiring, because I've seen a lot of people online having troubles getting everything to work. So I thought I'd see if I can go into detail on how I've done mine and got it to work. Now, like I said, I'm swapping this one out, so I'm going to take this one out of the fascia, and then we'll have a look at what we're looking at the back. Okay, so there we go. Got the old unit removed. So now we're just looking at the fascia itself. So we'll spin it around and have a look at the wiring on the back. Okay, so this is the back of the unit now. Obviously you would have already done your BCM or BEM, whatever it is. This needs to be bolted to the bottom of the fascia itself, and your 4 plugs at the front need to be plugged in, otherwise your car's not going to start, windows won't work, door locks won't work, all that sort of stuff. So we're just focusing on the wiring for the unit itself. Now, when you remove your factory unit, you've got that big plug there, which is the main plug which powers the whole stereo. And on the back of the unit, you've got this big plug here, which is where that goes. This plugs directly into that. I've taken all of this one off. I've taped it up with fleece harness in the past, so yours is going to look a bit different, but this is all it is. So that's the main plug that goes into the dash. You've got another plug hanging off here, which powers the ICC unit, which plugs into there. And then you've got the main ISO plug on the back here, which is a big black one. Now, if you buy an aftermarket stereo, most of the time these days they will come with a patch harness that you can buy to plug into your stereo directly and go to an ISO connector, just like this one. So this is one I've got for the new stereo that I'm putting into my car. So this harness here is from the new stereo. So once you plug that in there, and this is plugged into the car, your stereo will have power. Should. Now, what I've seen online, a few people have troubles getting the splash screen to work when you touch the controls on the ICC. Sometimes they can't get the reverse camera to work, and the steering wheel controls as well. So I'm going to try and touch on those, just how I've done it and how I've got it to work. So firstly, I'll touch on the steering wheel controls. So when you buy the Aerpro unit, it'll also come with this little harness here, which is for your steering wheel controls. Again, I've taped this up in fleece tape, so it's not going to look like this, but that's all it is. This is just a headphone jack, so it's just like a plug that plugs into a headphone jack, and this end just has the wires hanging on it. I've put this plug on, so just ignore that plug. You'll just have 3 wires. Now, the wires are labelled key 1, key 2, and the black one is an earth. Now, the brand of stereo that you use will determine which of these wires you're going to use. Some stereos will take the jack, the headphone jack, and input that directly into the back of the stereo. The stereo I'm using doesn't use that, so I've just taped that up so it doesn't touch anything. But a lot of them, which they call a universal key setup, is just by using these cables here, so key 1 and key 2. Now, on the harness that come with my stereo, this also has a key 1 and key 2 wire. And then also there's an earth wire. In this instance, I'm not using that. I don't need to. With the stereo that I've got, it works differently because it's a Chinese import. But you may have to the earth wire as well. So just keep that in mind. Now also with these steering wheel control harnesses, so this is just a universal Aerpro harness. They come with the kit. Some stereos that you use, you will need to cut one of these wires. You'll need to check that out with the model that you buy, depending on the brand that you're using. So if you've hooked all them up correctly, you should have steering wheel controls. There's no reason why you shouldn't. Now, before I get ahead of myself, also, just for your reference, when you're using your key fob thing here, this has to be put back onto this fascia, so that if this isn't plugged in and it kept in the car, your remote keys won't work, or key remotes. So when you change that out, there's an extra plug. Well, mine had an extra plug. You don't need that, so just leave that hanging and don't stress about plugging that in, because that's plugged in from the factory ICC. And I can't remember if this one was plugged in or not either, but yeah, you don't use that one anymore as well. Now for the reverse camera, you get this little patch harness. So it's got a female end and a male end. If you've bought this secondhand and you don't have that patch harness, you need it to get your reverse camera to work. Now this reverse camera, this patch harness is what also will feed the splash screen when you touch any ICC controls, to get your display to work on the screen when you're pressing any buttons on your ICC. So it's pretty crucial that it's plugged in. So if you're running a reverse camera, you've more than likely already got a cable like this in your car, which goes to the back, to the camera itself. So this little red wire that hangs off here at the back of the car, you can use to power the camera. So just connect that to the power of the camera. Then on the camera, there'll also be a black wire, which you just put to the earth of the car. So that's what you do at the back of the car. Now up the front of the car, like where we are, the red wire gets power from the wiring harness on the Aerpro. So there's a purple wire which we use to power this wire, this red wire, which then will send power to your reverse camera. So we'll go and have a look at that. So that yellow wire that's in your car needs to go to this end of the patch harness. So it says here, reverse camera, to the reverse camera. So you don't plug your reverse camera straight into your stereo. It's got to go through this patch harness. So that will plug into here. And that's why we've got this plug here. This is the one we use to go into the stereo. As you can see, to reverse camera input at the radio. So this is the one that goes into the radio. So the one in your car already goes into here. This one goes into the radio. And remember, when you plug this in, a lot of stereos have a camera input and then a reverse camera input, or a reverse camera. Make sure it goes into the reverse. Just a little tip, because I stuffed up when I first put mine in. But yeah. And as you can see here on this main harness, you've got this purple wire. So this purple wire here, when you put your car into reverse, this wire will get power. So that's why we can use this wire to trigger that red wire that's hanging off the yellow wire in the car, the little thin red one. Now I think this might be where a lot of people, or a step that a lot of people miss. So yes, this purple wire gives that camera wire power. So you put the car in reverse, your camera will work, it'll have power, but you won't get any power to the stereo, because on your stereo harness, there will also be a reverse wire. So this is the harness I'm putting in. So here you can see there's a pink wire, reverse camera positive. So you've got to connect this wire as well as the red one in the car. So what a good thing to do is, if you can, disconnect this camera wire to that wire that's hanging off in the car. So to sum it up, you need this wire connected to this purple wire, as well as the red wire that's in your car already from the reverse camera cable. You need to put the cable in the car to here on the patch harness, and then this one goes to your reverse camera input on the radio. Pretty simple. Now the aftermarket stereo that you buy will probably have USB inputs as well. So these two USB inputs on the front of the unit, on the front of the fascia down the bottom, they're hardwired, so they'll just plug directly into your USB outlets on your stereo. I've just cable tied them to the bottom here just to make it all neat, because you do get quite a bit of excess cable, and I've just tried to keep it as tidy at the back as I can. So that's the gist of it. Hopefully that might help someone out. I'm going to put this one back together now with the new unit. But what I'll do is I'll get some photos or screenshots of the actual instructions from Aerpro, because their instructions are pretty thorough, and I'll chuck them on the screen here just so you can use those as a reference as well. But yeah, hopefully that's helped someone out, and yeah, they can get their stereo working, because these units are pretty cool.